Welcome to Voices of the Case. In this episode, we want to tell you the story of the Zodiac Killer, the serial killer who taunted the police.
It really starts late 1960s, San Francisco Bay Area, and there's this growing sense of unease, a series of just brutal murders begins.
Right, and it wasn't just the violence, was it? It was how he communicated. That's what really set him apart.
Exactly. This wasn't some killer hiding in the shadows. He actually gave himself a name, Zodiac, and started this really disturbing game with the police, with the press.
Sending letters,
Cryptic letters, yeah, and these really complex ciphers. It was like he was mocking them, almost daring them to catch him.
Which is probably why, you could argue he's the most famous unsolved serial killer in American history, right?
Arguably, yes. The case still fascinates people. Amateur detectives, popular culture. It just keeps going.
So let's talk victims. What do we know for sure?
Well, the confirmed attacks happened across Benicia, Vallejo, Napa County, and then into San Francisco itself. We're talking 7 known victims, 3 young couples, often in secluded spots, lovers' lanes.
Vulnerable places.
Exactly. And then a lone cab driver in the city. 5 people died. 2 survived, incredibly.
And those letters you mentioned, they weren't just confessions.
Oh no. They were full of threats, more killings, even bombings if his demands weren't met. Demands for front page coverage, things like that.
Bizarre. And didn't he have some strange idea about the afterlife?
This really unsettling claim about collecting his victims as slaves for when he died, it paints a picture of a very, very disturbed individual.
And the ciphers. Intricate puzzles, you said.
4 of them sent in total, and he actually promised that one of them contained his identity.
Wow. The audacity.
Incredible, isn't it? Daring the world to figure him out. 2 have been solved now, the first one back in '69 pretty quickly, and another one, amazingly, just in 2020.
After decades.
51 years for that one, yeah. But 2 still remain unsolved, still holding their secrets.
So the confirmed timeline.
Yeah.
When did this all happen?
The known murders were between December 1968 and October 1969, a really intense period.
But the letters kept coming.
The confirmed correspondence went on until 1974, and in that last known letter he claimed 37 victims.
37. Do we believe that?
It's hard to say, probably an exaggeration, part of the ego, the taunting, but even if it's inflated, it points to a terrifying level of potential violence.
And despite everything, all the investigation, no definitive suspect.
No definitive proof. Arthur Lee Allen is the name most people know. He was officially named as a suspect, the only one ever formally named, I believe.
But never charged.
Never charged. Not enough conclusive evidence. He's a huge part of the Zodiac lore, but ultimately the case remains cold, unsolved.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning then. December 1968, Lake Herman Road.
Right. December 20th, the first confirmed victims. Bailu Jensen, just 16, and David Arthur Faraday, 17, high school kids.
On a date.
Looks like it. They were found on this lonely stretch, Lake Herman Road, just inside Benicia city limits. It was known as a lover's lane.
These places always seem to feature, don't they?
They do. They offer privacy, but also vulnerability. Faraday had picked her up, they'd stopped by a friend's, then ended up out there.
And the attack. What happened?
Sometime after 11 p.m., a passing motorist actually saw their car parked there. Then, a bit later, another car pulls up alongside them. Suddenly, gunfire.
It's just like that.
Just like that. Initial shots might have missed or just hit the car. Faraday gets out, or tries to. He's shot down almost immediately.
Oh, God.
Betty Lou runs, tries to flee, but the killer chases her down, shoots her multiple times in the back.
Brutal.
Horrifically so. Another driver finds them not long after. Betty Lou was gone. David was alive, barely, but died on the way to or at the hospital.
Any clues left behind? Witnesses.
That's the chilling part. Practically nothing. No witnesses to the actual attack, no really usable physical evidence. It was like he just appeared and vanished.
And the media picked up on this right away.
Oh yeah, it was big news from the start. But the fear that really ramped up the following summer.
July 4th, 1969.
July 4th, going into the 5th. Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo. Another lover's lane.
Another couple.
Yes. Darlene Farron, she was 22, and Michael Mago, 19.
And what was the story there?
They were out, maybe on a date. Apparently, Darlene got a phone call late that night, seemed a bit agitated. They left Mago's house and noticed a car following them.
Following them? So stalking.
It certainly looks that way. The car followed them for a while. They ended up parking at Blue Rock Springs. The other car stopped nearby, then turned its lights off. Creepy.
Definitely.
Mago said he felt uneasy. Darlene tried to brush it off. Then the car suddenly sped away.
A moment of relief, maybe.
You'd think so. But just about 5 minutes later, it came back. Pulled up really close this time. A guy gets out, shines a flashlight right in their faces.
And they thought
maybe it was the police, rolled down the window, but instead, gunfire. A 9mm pistol, just like Lake Herman Road, though that wasn't known yet. Mago was hit multiple times, Darlene too. He said the attacker went back to his car for a second, then came back and fired more shots into both of them. Just cold. Calculated.
Did Mago survive?
Miraculously, yes, he survived. Darlene, tragically, died at the hospital.
Did Mago get a look at the attacker?
He gave an initial description. A heavy-set white guy, maybe 5'8", curly, light brown hair. But the night wasn't over.
What do you mean?
Shortly after midnight, maybe 40 minutes after the attack, a phone rings at the Vallejo Police Department.
The killer.
It seems so. A man's voice. Calm. Reported the shooting. Mentioned the specific weapon, the 9mm Luger, and then he said, "I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye."
Wow. Connecting the two cases himself. Chilling.
Utterly chilling. And he called from a payphone just blocks from the police station.
Was there any investigation into Darlene? Did she maybe know him?
There were theories, definitely. Friends mentioned maybe some kind of prior relationship, someone bothering her, but nothing concrete ever emerged. Mago's own accounts varied a bit too, likely due to the trauma. It adds another layer of mystery.
And then the letters started arriving.
Yes, late July, early August '69, that's when things really blew up publicly. 3 identical letters sent simultaneously. Vallejo Times, San Francisco Chronicle, San Francisco Examiner.
What did they say?
The opening line was unforgettable. "I am the killer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman and the girl last 4th of July. Complete with misspellings."
Deliberate, do you think? The misspelling.
It's debated. Could be genuine, could be part of a facade. But each letter also contained one part of a 3-part cipher, 408 symbols in total.
The Z408.
That's the one. And he claimed, right there in the text around the cipher, "In this cipher is my identity." He demanded they publish it on the front page, or he'd kill again.
That's intense yush on the newspapers.
Immense. The Chronicle published a third of it. The police, understandably, were skeptical at first. They needed more proof.
Did they get it?
They did. On August 4th, another letter arrived, this time just to the Examiner. And this one started. "Dear editor, this is the Zodiac speaking."
The first time he used the name.
The very first time. The birth of the Zodiac persona. And this letter, crucially, contained details only the killer could know.
Like what?
Specifics about both crime scenes, things not released to the public, like mentioning Mago's specific wounds, the type of ammo, seeing a caretaker near Lake Herman Road, even that weird detail about taping a flashlight to his gun.
Okay, so that proved it was him.
Pretty much sealed it, yeah. And he again pointed to the cipher, almost taunting them.
And someone cracked it. You said it was solved quickly.
Amazingly, yes. Just days later, Donald and Betty Hardin, a school teacher, and his wife, amateurs, they figured it out.
Incredible. So, did it reveal his identity?
That's the twist. No name, nothing concrete like that.
So what did it say?
It was disturbing. Full of grammatical errors, talk about how much he liked killing, call it the most thrilling experience, reference the most dangerous game.
And the slaves thing.
Yes, that was in there too. "I am collecting slaves for my afterlife." He refused to give his name because it would slow down or stop his collection. And he spelled paradise, P-A-R-A-D-I-C-E.
Just bizarre. What did the police make of that?
They had psychiatrists analyze it, of course. They talked about feelings of omnipotence, deep inadequacy masked by violent fantasy, isolation, a chilling psychological profile, but still no closer to who he was.
And the killings didn't stop there.
No. The terror moved to Napa County, Lake Berryessa, September 27th, 1969.
Another couple.
Yes, Brian Hartnell, 20, and Cecilia Shepard, 22. They were college students, just picnicking by the lake.
What happened to them?
This one was different, more theatrical almost. A man approached them, but he was wearing this bizarre costume. A black executioner-style hood, with clip-on sunglasses over the eye holes, and a white symbol like a crosshair sewn onto the bib. He had a gun, but also a knife visibly tucked in his belt.
That's terrifying. What did he say?
He claimed he was an escaped convict, said he needed their car and money to get to Mexico. He seemed oddly calm.
Did they resist?
Not initially. He had them tie each other up using pre-cut lengths of plastic clothesline he brought with him. He even checked Brian's knots, said Cecilia tied them too loosely. Brian later said he still thought it might just be a robbery at that point.
But it wasn't.
No. Then he pulled out the knife and just stabbed them repeatedly. Brian was stabbed multiple times, Cecilia even more, just horrific violence.
Like there by the lake.
Yeah. And before he left, he walked over to Brian's Carmen Gia and drew that crosshair symbol on the door with a black marker. Underneath, he wrote the dates of the first 2 attacks and Sep 2760 sign 6.30 by knife. A grisly tally.
Good day at both.
Cecilia Shepard tragically died from her injuries 2 days later. Brian Hartnell amazingly survived.
He survived that. Incredible. His testimony must have been crucial.
Absolutely. He provided incredible detail about the attacker's appearance, his voice, his mannerisms. Witnesses in the area also reported seeing a suspicious man earlier, leading to another composite sketch.
And the phone call? Did he call again?
He did. Around 7:4 day that evening, called the Napa County Sheriff's Office from a payphone at a car wash. Calmly confessed to the double murder, even gave directions to the crime scene.
Did they trace the call?
They found the phone booth, the receiver still dangling off the hook. They even lifted a palm print, possibly still wet, but it never matched anyone in the system. Another dead end.
So now he's killed in Benicia, Vallejo, Napa. Where next?
San Francisco itself. Just 2 weeks later, October 11th, 1969. This time, the victim was a cab driver, Paul Stein.
A change in victim type.
Yes. And location, more brazen, right in the city in Presidio Heights. Stein picked up a fare downtown, destination Washington and Cherry Streets.
And what happened there?
Around 9:55 p.m., right at the intersection, the pastor shot Stein in the head, took his wallet, his keys, tore off a piece of his shirt.
Why take a piece of the shirt?
We'll get to that. But crucially, this time, there were witnesses. 3 teenagers in a house right across the street. They saw the whole thing.
They saw the killer.
Yes. They saw him wiping down the cab, going through Stain's pockets. They got a good look, called the police immediately, described him as a white male, husky build, dark jacket, glasses.
Okay, so this time they had a solid description.
They did, but then a mistake happened. A terrible mistake. The police dispatcher mistakenly broadcast the suspect description as a black male.
Oh no.
Yeah. And just minutes later, 2 patrol officers responding to that incorrect description actually saw a white man fitting the teenager's description walking nearby.
They saw the Zodiac.
Almost certainly. They stopped him briefly, asked if he saw anything. He apparently pointed them down the street, said he saw a man with a gun heading east. Because they were looking for a black suspect, they let him go.
Unbelievable. They had him.
They had him right there. He even bragged about it later in a letter, saying he was the witness who spoke to them. By the time the correct description went out and investigators, including detectives Armstrong and Toshi, arrived, Stein was dead and the killer was long gone.
And the piece of shirt.
2 days later, the San Francisco Chronicle received another letter. Inside was that bloody piece of Paul Stein's shirt. Proof.
What else did the letter say?
He claimed Stein's murder mocked the police search he'd apparently watched from the Presidio Park nearby, and then made that absolutely terrifying threat.
The school bus.
The school bus. He said he was going to shoot out the tires of a school bus and pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out. Just pure terror.
Did they get sketches out from the witnesses and the officers who saw him?
Yes, those famous composite sketches were created based on the teenagers' descriptions and the officers' recollections. 2 slightly different versions, but depicting that same heavy-set man with glasses.
And Armstrong and Toshi were leading the SFPD investigation.
That's right. Dave Tossi, especially, became almost synonymous with the Zodiac case. He spent years on it. He later described the Zodiac as playing an ego game, maybe intelligent, but probably unremarkable in person, someone who loved the power the letters gave him.
Didn't Toshi get into some trouble himself later on?
Yeah, unfortunately. Years later, it came out he'd written anonymous letters praising his own work on the case. A really bizarre turn that got him taken off the investigation. It just shows how strange and consuming this whole thing became.
The letters didn't stop with the Stein murder, did they?
Not at all. Lead 69 was busy. November 8th, the Chronicle got a card with another cipher, the big one, the Z340.
The one that took 51 years to solve.
That's the one. 340 characters. It was finally cracked in December 2020 by this international team of enthusiasts.
And what did it say? His name?
Still no name. It was rambling, denied being someone named Sam, mentioned on a TV show about him, said he wasn't afraid of the gas chamber because paradise awaited him and his slaves. Still misspelled paradise.
So, more of the same, basically. No real clues.
Pretty much. Frustratingly so. Then, just a day later, another letter. 7 pages long this time.
7 pages. What was in that?
More boasting. That's where he detailed being stopped by the cops after the Stein murder. Repeated the school bus threat, Even included a diagram for the bomb he claimed he'd use, talked about how much smarter he was than the police.
He really enjoyed taunting them.
Seemed to be a core part of it. Then, December 20th, the first anniversary of the Lake Herman Road murders. He sent a letter to a very famous lawyer, Melvin Belly, and included another piece of Stein's bloody shirt. But this letter had a different tone, almost desperate.
Desperate how?
It had, please, help me, I am drowning, and I cannot remain in control for much longer, maybe a glimpse behind the mask, or just another manipulation, hard to tell.
So the letters just kept coming into 1970.
Oh yeah, it was relentless for a while. April 1970, another letter, another cipher, the Z13, just 13 characters, still unsolved.
What else was in that letter?
He denied bombing a police station, there had been an unrelated bombing, and again, included a diagram for his supposed school bus bomb. Claimed killing cops brought more glory.
And then he wanted people to wear buttons.
Yeah, later that month, a greeting card arrived. He threatened to use the bus bomb unless the Chronicle wrote about his bomb plans and people started wearing nice Zodiac buttons. Just completely bizarre.
Did anyone wear them?
Doesn't seem like it. Because in June 1970, he wrote again, complaining about the lack of buttons, said he'd punish them in another way by shooting a man in a parked car.
Did that match any unsolved cases?
It raised speculation about the murder of SFPD Sergeant Richard Radtich, who was shot in his patrol car around that time. But police officially deny any Zodiac connection.
He sent a map too, right?
Yes, with that June letter. A Phillips 66 road map of the Bay Area. He'd drawn his symbol over Mount Diablo and claimed the map, plus another cipher, the Z32, also unsolved, would reveal where his bomb was buried.
Was anything ever found?
No bomb. But later, people like Gareth Penn noted this weird potential alignment of the crime scenes radiating from Mount Diablo. Some kind of strange geographical signature, maybe?
He just kept writing.
July 1970, more letters. Still complaining about the buttons. Mentioned having a little list, possibly referencing Kathleen Johns, a woman who had had a terrifying encounter earlier that year.
What was that encounter?
She claimed a man disabled her car, offered her a ride, then drove her and her baby around threateningly for hours before she escaped. She later identified the police sketch of the Stein killer as the man. Zodiac seemed to confirm it in a later letter.
And he wrote a song parody.
Yeah, a really macabre parody of As Someday It May Happen from the Mikado, rewriting the lyrics to be about torturing his slaves in paradise. Updated his score, too, just chillingly playful.
Then things got personal with a reporter.
October 1970, he sent 2 cards. One was this creepy 13-hole punch card. The other was a Halloween card addressed directly to Paul Avery, the Chronicle reporter covering the case.
What did it say?
It had skeletons on it and the message, "Peekaboo, you are doomed." Also hinted at maybe 14 victims. Avery, understandably, started carrying a gun. His colleagues wore "I am not Avery" buttons in solidarity.
That must have been terrifying for Avery.
Absolutely. Around the same time, Avery got an anonymous tip connecting Zodiac to an earlier unsolved murder.
Which one?
The 1966 murder of Cherry Jo Bates in Riverside, Southern California. Similarities in letters sent after her death, a poem found, details only the killer would know. It opened up the possibility Zodiac started much earlier.
Did he write again after that?
There was a letter in March 71 to the LA Times, more taunting, claiming 17 victims now, then silence, for almost 3 years.
3 years. Why the gap?
Nobody knows for sure. Maybe he was incarcerated, moved away, died, or just stopped. Then January 1974, one last confirmed letter.
The Exorcist letter.
Yeah, named because he referenced the movie. He commented on a columnist, quoted the Mikado again, included a strange new symbol, and updated his score one last time. 37. Me equals 37, SFPD equals 0, and then nothing more. Confirmed, anyway. That silence and the shifting tone over the years has led to speculation. Some psychologists have floated ideas like maybe multiple personality disorder explaining the gaps or the change in intensity, but it's all just theory.
So officially 7 victims, but potentially many more.
Exactly. There's no consensus.
No.
But several older unsolved cases bear striking similarities.
Like the Cherry Jo Bates case you mentioned.
Yes, and even earlier. 1962, a taxi driver, Raymond Davis, killed in Oceanside. Similar MO to Stein, taunting calls afterwards.
And others.
1963, Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards, shot on a beach near Santa Barbara, tied up, similar ammo to Berryessa. The local sheriff suspected Zodiac.
Wow.
1964, Johnny and Joyce Swindle, honeymooners shot in San Diego. Again, similarities in wounds, items taken.
So the timeline could be much longer.
Potentially. Then you have Kathleen John's abduction in 1970, which Zodiac himself seemed to reference, and Donna Lass, who vanished from State Line, Nevada, also in 1970. There was an anonymous call linking her disappearance to Zodiac, and later a cryptic postcard sent to the Chronicle, possibly from him, hinting at Lake Tahoe. Her skull was eventually found years later.
So many unanswered questions.
Yeah.
It's easy to see why the case became legendary.
It's the combination, isn't it? The brutality, the taunting letters, the ciphers, the costume, the escape, and then just vanishing. It's perfect fodder for obsession.
And it created this whole world of zodiologists.
Absolutely. People dedicating their lives to solving it. Books like Robert Graysmith's Zodiac, which heavily influenced the public perception.
And that amazing David Fincher movie.
Yeah, the movie really captured the frustration, the dead ends, the sheer weight of the mystery. Documentaries, too, it just keeps getting revisited.
Even internet memes, like the Ted Cruz thing.
Right. Which is bizarre, but shows how deeply embedded the Zodiac is in culture, even now. Sadly, he also inspired copycat killers over the years.
So where does the case stand now? Is it still active?
Officially, it's often listed as inactive due to lack of leads, but departments like SFPD have reopened it periodically, especially with advancements in DNA technology and genetic genealogy.
Any breakthroughs there?
Some potential links investigated, but nothing conclusive has been announced that definitively identifies the Zodiac. He remains elusive. That final silence after 74, it's maybe the most unsettling part. Did he die? Move? Get caught for something else? Or did he just stop? Just melt back into society carrying those secrets? We just don't know.
It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Could someone really commit such horrific crimes, taunt the world, and then just disappear?
It's the ultimate chilling question mark at the end of a very dark story.
That's it for this episode of Voices of the Case. Don't forget to subscribe and see you next time.